Hi there, it's Billy Tarasio from Modern Law and the Modern Divorce Support Group. Got a lot of Q&A here, and we're just going to do some rapid fire basic family law overview questions. What immediate legal protections can I seek if I am in an abusive marriage? Great question. There's a number of things that you can do here. The first is an order of protection that prohibits physical contact. But the second thing you probably need to do is file for divorce. Because when you file for divorce, preliminary injunction goes into place that prevents changes financially, prevents the dissipation of assets or getting rid of assets. Selling your car, for instance. I spoke to a woman this morning who said that her husband was threatening to sell the car that she drives every day. And by filing for divorce, that will be stopped because of this preliminary injunction. You can get an order of protection, which prevents physical contact if you've experienced domestic violence or you're in an abusive relationship. How can I effectively document evidence of abuse for court proceedings? In the statute 25-40303, it talks specifically about domestic violence and different records that you can use and that the court must look at. Those records include domestic violence shelter records, hospital records, police records. You want pictures, you want witnesses, you want prior consistent statements, or if you're saying that an event happened, 2 years ago, then did you 2 years ago write that down and send it to someone? Those types of things can be very helpful to prove abuse in court proceedings. But the best is medical records and police records. What are the options for financial support during a divorce? There are two types of support that you can get in Arizona during your divorce: child support and spousal maintenance. They are both now calculated pursuant to a calculator, and that has certainly made the spousal maintenance discussion much simpler. It's a new calculator, and prior to that, we just had to kind of pick a number or wonder really if someone would even qualify. Now, you still have to qualify in order to get spousal maintenance, but once you qualify under the qualifications factors, then the calculator will tell us a range of a low, medium, and high range that you might be eligible for spousal maintenance. If you have just started your divorce, you're going to need to file a temporary order in order to get that temporary support. How does custody work when there's abuse involved? This is such a good question, and it's a tough question. So there is a presumption against joint legal decision-making or an abusive party having sole legal decision-making. The statute doesn't use the term abusive. It uses the term domestic violence, and it defines that. If you are in a situation, you may be in an abusive relationship that the court does not recognize as domestic violence. And I'll tell you, this happens a lot. Relationships can be abusive without it rising to the legal level here in Arizona where it would impact child custody at all. So for instance, if you have a partner, a spouse who is controlling your every move, watching everywhere you go, controlling how much you can spend, controlling who you can talk to, not really allowing you to live freely, you're in an abusive relationship. But that behavior probably would not impact a child custody determination because it was never directed towards the children. And being controlling over children is not illegal. It's not necessarily abusive. Like parents exert control over who their children talk to, what they do, the activities they're engaged in, where they're at all times. It's just not appropriate within a relationship between two adults. But if you have a physically abusive spouse or there is child abuse, then the parenting time that is awarded should be limited and should offer proper protection like supervision or agency or SoberLink. Sometimes there are parents who are abusive when drunk, and something like SoberLink can really alleviate a lot of that, because if you stop the drinking, you can stop the abuse. How are assets and debts divided in a divorce involving abuse? Great question. In Arizona, property is divided without regards to fault. That's in the statute, that's the law. Community property doesn't care who worked harder, who brought in more money, whether or not somebody was abusive. The only thing is, if you can prove waste, marital waste, then you might be entitled to a larger share. Abuse specifically does not mean you might get more of the community property. What should I know about costs of divorcing an abusive partner? Many times, an abusive partner is going to be very difficult in the legal system. They often don't follow the rules. They don't think the rules apply to them. They don't compromise. They don't see things from your perspective. They don't care necessarily about the best interests of the children. They are so self-centered that all they care about is winning. And that can make divorcing an abusive partner very, very difficult. Then there are other types of abusive partners who are less controlling, but have nevertheless been abusive. This is rare, but I have seen it in my practice, where you have somebody who knows they were abusive. Usually that's when drugs or alcohol are involved. Somebody was an addict, somebody made horrible decisions, they are sober and now realize those were horrible decisions. They don't want to control, they're not seeking to win, they don't necessarily have that same narcissistic brain. And those people can be normal when it comes to divorcing an abusive partner. You should know that divorcing your spouse will look like how you fought during your marriage or during your relationship, amped up. So you know how your spouse reacts to conflict and how they react to conflict with you, and you can predict their behavior based on that past behavior.
Thank you for watching. If you have any questions about family law, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and we'll do our best to provide answers. If you're in Arizona and need legal help, don't hesitate to contact us at Modern Law. If you're looking to represent yourself, we have free resources available at Win Without Law School. You can also join our Modern Divorce Support Group on Facebook for community support. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.